Ciao a tutti amici, qui Tiziano Vecchio, vi invito a seguire la seconda stagione di Gripsport Latino. Un saluto a tutti, a presto.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Gripsport Latino. Pancho Grip right here. Today's episode, we will have an honorable guest, a really notorious grip athlete, Jerome Bloom from the United Kingdom. I'm going to invite him to join our live stream.
I need to turn this around. Hello.
Hello, Jerome. Good to see you. Good morning. Good evening, I think, or good afternoon for you.
Afternoon. So 1 p.m. So 1 in the afternoon. Yeah.
Perfect. Such an honor to have you here in the podcast. It's really exciting to see you after all those all these years.
I'm sorry that I didn't catch you when you were in England. That was a shame. It would have been nice to have met up.
No. I haven't been there yet. I haven't been. No, I wouldn't forgive myself to not visit you if I were in England.
Okay.
No, I haven't been there yet. In the future, I guess. I hope for the distance, at least.
Be welcome to train with me. It will be a pleasure.
Yeah, I'd love to. Well, to start with the interview. You were one of the first grip people I followed on Instagram, like back in the day in 2018 when I started. But I want you to tell us, who is Jerome Bloom?
I'm a pro grip athlete who's been training my grip since 1994. I've got a lot of world records. I'm an enthusiastic arm wrestler, ranked number 3 in the country in Britain for pro arm wrestling in lightweights, and I believe I was the first lightweight in grip sport to have overall world records. In other words, to beat the super heavyweights in well contested disciplines. So in other words, not just online challenges. This was proper competitions. And former titles were World's Strongest Hands and the King Kong of Grip. Again for the lightweight, but I've had and still have world records for all the weight categories, even though I'm usually 70 kilos or under in body weight.
Perfect, Jerome. And what's your current occupation?
I'm an architectural technologist and consultant. So basically, I work with architects and with surveyors and builders, and we fireproof buildings. We build buildings sometimes. My background is in construction. I've specified and designed many buildings over the years. So it's a busy job, and it's a good thing. A bit like John Bazink in arm wrestling, because I've got a job that doesn't test my grip, so I get to rest when I'm working.
Yes, that's perfect. Jerome, tell us your height and your body weight.
Currently 5 feet 2.5. I don't know what that is in meters. What was that? I think it's like 158 centimeters or something like that. Maybe a bit more. But I'm currently just over 70 kilos, so about 71 kilos. But I mean, I compete for arm wrestling at 65 kilos, and for grip strength it's 66. Although I've got a competition next month in Finland where it's under 74 kilos, so I can eat as much as I want for that, which is great.
Perfect. Yeah, for the ones who are not so much into grip sport yet, tell us your best powerlifting lifts. They can be like the PRs from history.
I don't do powerlifting. I'm an identical twin, and my twin brother at 56 kilo body weight, he was 200 kilo deadlift and repeating 180. And I don't do it at all because I hurt I slipped a disc in my back in the 90s, late 1990s, and I just took up grip because of it. I mean, I kind of went into competitive grip because the surgeon said, "Oh, I need to squat," you know. So I thought, perfect, I can carry. He said, "Carry on lifting, but the grip lifts," you know. So I wouldn't be very impressive in powerlifting meet, you know. I'm a little body with a very normal guy with very strong hands. So it's.
So let's go to the PRs of your strong hands. Which is your best two hands pinch?
Well, I've got Euro pinch world record for the lightweights. That's something like 77, 78 kilos. But on the two-hand pinch on a 50 mil Slerikov bar, I can do timed hold of 90 kilos. So
Wow.
my personal best was something like 95 kilos. But it depends on the block. So I'm currently training on a 60 mil block for the Finland Bonehill competition, and I'm doing timed holds with 70 kilos. So sort of holding that as long as I can. The world record is under 70 kilos, so I need to I want to aim to get up to maybe 80 kilos in the competition. So it depends on the equipment and the competition.
Perfect, but it's really strong. I really like it. And Jerome, which is your best gripper close?
Well, I was one of the first people under 150 pound body weight to close the number 3 Captains of Crush quite a long time ago.
Yes.
I don't, for grippers, I tend to have to train up to them because they affect my other lifts. So I don't do grippers every day. When I'm best that I was on grippers was during lockdown when actually no, before that. It was 2017, 2018 when I was able to do pretty much timed holds of the number 3. And I was training for that with timed holds of the number 2.5 and with the heavy grip 300. So just holding them shut as long as I can. But generally, I don't do grippers. It affects my arm wrestling. It affects my grip lifts. So it's this sort of gripper work. It stretches the tendons too much for me. I could probably work up to it, but you know, I would have to have a big break from competitions to be able to do that.
I understand. It's a really strong close. I really like it, Jerome. I want to go back to like the origin of your Gripsport career. How did you discover Gripsport?
I used to follow World's Strongest Man on TV, and there was a man called Manfred Herbal who's from Austria, and he was famous for closing the number 3 Captains of Crush. So one year he went to Mr. Olympia. So it was one of these massive events for bodybuilders, and he was not good at bodybuilding. They didn't like his look, you know, but
Okay.
he was the only person in the entire place that could close the number 3, and you know, so he was famous for doing that, and no other strongman at the time could do it. So now there's quite a few. There's a lot of them who can do it. In fact, there's a few. Like Magnus Samuelsson famously closed the number 4, you know, and there's quite a lot of people out there. But it's very respectable to be able to shut it because you have to bear in mind Gripsport. The origin was Olympic originally, so originally it was weightlifters and performers comparing themselves to each other, and what can I do that you can't do, and you know, what can we do between us that tests everyone. You know, so it used to be literally a weld a coin to a bar and see how much you could lift, that sort of thing. And there's a few classic ones. You know, the Euro pinch adjustable apparatus was based on an old, it's called a tablet pinch, or where you put plates together, smooth side out, and see if you can lift them. So for myself, I used to I used to follow the World's Strongest Man on TV and do the same weights as them in the axe hold and often beat most of them. But the grip itself, farmer's walk type thing, I used to be quite good at. And I used to put all my books for college in one bag and walk them between college buildings, because there was 2 miles between the buildings. So it was a 2-mile walk with all my books. So I just wanted to have, big forearms, but they've never got any bigger since. So it's like, I found out that you can get a lot stronger, and your personal bests become world records, and my arms are not getting any bigger, so grip strength is very much about what's underneath. It's about tendon strength, so thick tendons, and ligaments, that sort of thing. Mobility to some extent, although I've got not very mobile arms. So it's about, I think grip. A lot of people I train are doing other sports. Yes. So it's like there's a rock climber who I'm training at the moment, and it's really helping him with his bouldering. So it means that he's able to now conquer those walls that he couldn't before, and it's helping him sort of get to the next level. So I'm actually spending a lot of time coaching other people now. So I coach in arm wrestling, and I'd like to coach more in grip strength, but you get people turn up who ask to train grip. They see the arm wrestling table and I've lost them. All they want to do is arm wrestling. So it's a small sport, and we lose them to arm wrestling all the time. That's more fun for them, and it looks good. Whereas grip, we don't look at ourselves in the mirror. We lift what's the most we can lift. That's all we care about. It's about we want a legacy. We want to say we're stronger than everyone else on the planet. I don't care what I look like in the mirror. You can probably tell, but I'm everywhere. A lot of people, you get people contacting me regularly saying, "Oh, how can I get bigger forearms?" And I don't know. I have to admit, my arms haven't got any bigger for the last 20 years. So, I'm obviously doing something wrong, because if I wanted bigger arms, it's certainly not happening. I've just got stronger arms, so it's sort of it's a different thing.
Perfect. And which year was when you discovered Gripsport? It was like 94, right?
Yeah. So it was when I was sort of 17, something like that, and it was good because I wanted to impress the girls in the gym, So I thought, maybe if I can lift a lot in front of them and bench press a lot, that sort of thing. But no, I found out that actually it was quite addictive, the pain of the burn, the sort of thing between, when you're carrying things, and I loved doing it. Yeah.
Jerome, and when you started doing Gripsport, the stab or the half penny, those key pinch, they were like disciplines on contest?
Yeah, so basically the rated competitions like that were very unusual. The arm lifting competitions and Iron Mind competitions only really started late 90s, early noughties. And I didn't compete in an official competition until 2013. Having said that, I mean, the half penny has been competed since I think it was about 2001, 2002, something like that. So to me, the ones that are important are the ones that have been competed the longest, because to be able to beat so many people from so many years, for me, is more important. So the really big ones for me were the Iron Mind Hub, the half penny, the Euro pinch adjustable apparatus. Those are the big ones for me as far as really rating myself against the rest other people. And more recent years, it's been the Finnish ball, because it's all over the world. It's nice to have records. I've got a lot of records for little things that a lot of people don't do, but the ones I really care about are the ones where the most people have tried and failed to beat the record. And so if you can say you've beaten hundreds and hundreds of people who are the best in the sport, then you can say you're really making good work. The Finnish ball, actually, my friend from Finland, Harry Tollonen, beat my record by nearly 2 kilos, which doesn't sound like a lot, but he's super heavyweight, so I've still got all the records for that. But I'm very happy. It's a small sport. I want people to beat my records, and I want to be able to, So Harry was famous for the Iron Mind hub. He still holds the world record, and originally when he first beat the world record, I was training for the record. So on the Iron Mind, I think at the time I was training for. It took me many years to get to 38 kilos on that, and that was the record at the time. And then as soon as when I'd beaten 38 in training, and I wanted to do it officially, Harry Tollonen beat it. So and then he ended up doing 40 kilos. So my best ended up at roughly 41 kilos, but by which time Harry had taken it a couple of kilos more than that. I think he got it up to 43 kilos. So it's sort of, you could say, oh, Harry's my enemy, but he's one of my very best friends. He's a lovely guy. And I would not have been lifting 40 kilos of the Iron Mind hub if Harry Tollonen hadn't been beating me, basically. And there's other guys who are really superb. And the thing I really love about a lot of these guys in Finland, and places like that, is their technique is just so strict. There's no messing around. There was an American guy who had the record for a while, the Iron Mind hub. Such a dodgy lift, really. You know what I mean? Dodgy. It was. I don't think it counted. It was basically, there's rules, and. Having said that, I've had some Russians have a go at me about my technique, and I have to explain to them, do you know why they have the rules? And I have to explain exactly what the Iron Mind rules are, and why Randy, who's the guy who owns Iron Mind, why he came up with those rules. And so I know the rules, and why they do it.
Yes.
They think that, when they see the little finger drift on the hub, they think that's bad. You have to start your fingers on the base of the hub, because it shows to the ref that you're not doing a doorknob technique. So
Exactly.
it's a demonstration. During the lift, your little finger's allowed to drift up during the lift. And Harry Tollonen, every record he ever got, his little finger's up there, So it's actually, I know what I'm talking about, And, you get, I've had some arguments with people over who've been in grip sport for 5 minutes, and they think they know better than me. And I know a lot of the guys who invented these rules, so sort of David Horn, who all of these incredible things he came up with, and many times Britain's strongest grip athlete and world's strongest grip athlete. And there's if you ever want to argue about things, just talk to people who know the history of it. He's got, I recommend this, I don't know if it's in stock anymore, he's got a whopping great book called the Gripopedia, so it's the whole history.
I think it is. I think it's still in stock. Yes, I've seen it. At least
it's expensive,
the PDF version. Yes.
Yeah. I've got it. It's great. I've got the hard copy, and it's really good. Yeah. Although a lot of the records are now out of date, but on a history, it's unbeatable.
Yes.
Brilliant. Yeah.
Yes, I am pretty sure. Jerome, I wanted to cover a little of arm wrestling as well. How did you discover arm wrestling? When did you started practicing arm wrestling?
So, I used to, I'm one of these guys who always beat people in the pub, in the bar and at school. I remember there was a guy at school who beat me, and he used his wrist, and I was very impressed with him, and I found out actually a long time ago on the World's Strongest Man, they had arm wrestling back in 1985 or something like that, and so it was interesting. But I never thought I would do it, as a proper thing. But I used to go to these big fitness expos, strength meets with my brother, because my twin brother, who's 2 inches shorter than me, he's a lot lighter than me. He would go and show off that he was stronger than everyone, in powerlifting.
Yes.
So I'd go with him just to say, look at my little brother, he's so strong. And so we were, in 2010, we were sat there eating our lunch, and after the bodybuilders had all gone, they set up this arm wrestling competition right in front of us. And we thought, oh, this is interesting. These look like more normal people. These guys who were impressive, but they didn't look like they would be the best in the world. And these were the best in the world at the time. And it was a thing called Arm Wars. Admittedly, one guy got his arm broken in the competition. Oh. Michael Todd, you might know of the guy Michael Todd. So his left arm got broken, maybe, was it 4 meters in front of us, 5 meters in front of us. You could almost hear his arm go, and we had to wait 45 minutes whilst the ambulance was called. But I regret I never got to talk to Michael Todd, but I got to some other really impressive guys like Marcio Barbosa. He's Brazilian, and so South American, and also from Brazil, Wagner Bortolato, who broke Michael Todd's arm. Really nice guy. You're thinking you just broke a guy's arm, but they were very nice guys. And so we joined a club. We basically joined the Cambridge Minotaurs, and now I'm the captain of the London Minotaurs. So I took the name when my coach went into strongman. So my old arm wrestling coach became one of London's strongest strongmen. But I now am the captain of the club, if that makes sense.
Perfect. And Jerome, how do you mix your arm wrestling training with your grip training these days?
Well, you're supposed to do specific exercises for arm wrestling. And I'm addicted to grip training, so I don't do the arm wrestling training. So it is a problem, because there's guys I train become a lot stronger than me in arm wrestling. Fine, I prefer it that way. I'm very proud. I get to train people to beat me and other people. But in arm wrestling, all my strength comes from table time with other people. All the weights in my shed are just for grip. Grip. That's all I train. So most days of the week I'll do something on my grip. I used to do heavy weights for the grip 7 days a week, but in recent years, since lockdown, I've been sort of maybe having a bit more rest.
Okay. And do you think a wrestler could benefit themselves from grip sport training?
No. Generally, there's only a few techniques that require strong grip. So you can use some grip exercises to improve your arm wrestling, but grip sport as a whole doesn't guarantee you anything in arm wrestling, because it's in arm wrestling it's about wrist mobility and strength. It's about chest strength. It's about shoulder, rotator cuff, deltoid. There's forearm. It's about stability and hand control. And hand control is not about grip strength. It's more like the crimp cup power in rock climbing, that sort of thing. So you're training your cup strength, and the thing where I have an advantage over pretty much everyone in arm wrestling is thumb strength. So I can open up another guy's hand just by pushing my thumb forward. But it's a defensive thing. So basically, what I tend to do is the other guy, if he pronates, that's pronating, into my hand, my thumb opens him up. So people have to move around my hand in order to get out of it. So it limits what they can do without their hand and grip collapsing. So for me, it's useful. There's a guy called John Bazink who's famous for doing the same thing. He's really good at using his thumb. but generally, a lot of people in arm wrestling don't even try it. Most of them will try. It's called the outside game. It's either over the top or outside. So that's a traditional top roll. That's a dragging
Yes.
top roll. There's also the high hook, which is in this direction, high up. Yeah. So it's up. It's like you're tightening something above your head, and that's great for controlling someone to your side. Other techniques, you have inside technique where you're bringing them on your side again. That tends to be a lower grip, and you're going to be dragging them across the table. So there's a lot of techniques in arm wrestling. I teach all the techniques.
Okay.
It's a bit difficult for me because I've got a short arm. So generally in arm wrestling, you need a long arm because people think, oh, short arm is good. Yes, in the pub, in a bar, it's good because
Okay.
if they're on your side. But on a proper table where you have pads, you have to stay on the pad. So generally, I have to open my arm up, and then I can't lift as much weight with my arm out there. Whereas a tall person, they can hit their power all around the table. So the good thing, imagine you had to catch a kettlebell. Yeah.
Yes.
Where can you catch that kettlebell? And you can't do it with your arm fully out, So
Exactly.
you're trying to, in arm wrestling, you basically try to bring yourself to the other guy's arm, to the hand, and bring him to you. So you can beat guys. A good example of beating guys much bigger than myself was in the British sit-down championships, where they can't, because they're sitting down, they can't fully pronate. So they can't run away from me. So basically, I got to put the brakes on them, and they open their own arm up. So it's not always about you overpowering someone. It's about you stopping someone and then peeling them open like a can.
Perfect.
But the thing is, when on a stand-up 40-inch high table, I have a big disadvantage because they can basically throw their hand into a part of the table where I'm opened up and they're not. So they might be weaker than me in the gym, but I won't be able to connect to all that power. So a lot of this grip strength isn't very helpful for me, because there's no way of applying it when you round someone's big hand on their long arm. It's different.
Hey, Jerome, which are your current goals with arm wrestling?
So I'm currently third in the country on the under 85 kilo and in sit down, and the under 65 for stand up, and I want to be number one. So
Cool.
it's really really obvious goal. I know what I need to do. There's a little issues with tendonitis and things I need to get around. Because I'm short, there's things. It's really obvious what I need to do. There's certain things with wrist and cupping that I need to do. If you're tall, you don't need to use all your power. If you're able to get outside and continue with the grit, with the contact on someone, then you can open them up. Whereas me, I have to beat the other guy. I have to be stronger than him, because of the short arm. So I have to overpower him. Whereas in arm wrestling, it's not usually the case. If you're all the same height, then you can beat the other guy even if he's stronger than you. If you were to time and get the hand control, if you were to isolate part of his shape. So if you can isolate his shoulder or his elbow or his wrist, you've got a chance of beating him. Whereas me, I have to physically open that up, the whole lot. So I have to open his whole arm up. So it's a bit like grippers. So I'm good at what's called a 1-inch close, which was the old Iron Mind rule. The new Iron Mind rule, which is a card close, is too wide for my hand. So the gripper comes out of my grip. So it means in order for me to do card closes, I have to close it from a non-optimum position. I'm having to close it with the handle up in my fingers and be stronger than the other guy. You know, there's guys who can no set close the number 3. In other words, just pick the number 3 up and close it.
Yes.
Without even a set, who have weaker grip than me, but they've got big hands and they've still got amazing grip, but I physically can't get my leverage in on that position. There's no way. The handles would have to be very close to each other for me to do the same as they are doing. So I've got enough horsepower.
Yes.
At least when I'm training up for grippers. So last year I was getting to do the 3 a lot, but I haven't done it this year. To be quite honest, I don't usually want to do the number 3. It's sort of when you get good at it, it feels great, but everything else suffers. It seems to be that I'm losing on all my other lifts. Arm wrestling is the same. So if I'm training monsters, you know, my lifting is terrible. You know, so the tallest guy in our club is 7 foot tall.
Wow.
And he's not been able to train for a month because he got injured in playing cricket.
Okay.
He hurt his leg. But the problem I find is that his arm's up here, you know, so I had to try and train him is very difficult. You know, I have to coach him and other people, and we've got another guy who's 6'6", and he's small compared to this guy. So, you know, at least it's different. It's a different thing. Yeah.
Nice. There are a couple of questions from the followers, Jerome. I don't know if you knew, but the first team or group of arm lifting here in South America was in Uruguay.
Ah, okay.
And their president, his name is Rodrigo Gonzalez.
Yes, I know him. Yeah, I know him.
Yes.
Well, I know of him. I've not met him.
Rodrigo is a big fan of your work and he loves key pinching. So he would love to know how do you program your resting periods to not overtrain your grip?
With key pinch, it's a difficult one because I find that the less rest, the better with key pinch. What I do is, I don't ever work with everyone, but I tend to train key pinch more than anything else until my nervous system can't do it anymore. And so maybe once every 2 months, I can't lift anymore. My numbers go way down, and there's nothing I can do about it. So the difficulty is making sure that I don't have that drop in form during a competition. I need to time it so that it's progressive overload. So basically, I train 90% at least, if not 100% of, you know, I with key pinch, there's never an evening when I'm not trying to lift to failure. I don't do many reps. I'll do lots of failures, so maybe I'll get lots of reps in trying at heavy weights, you know, and failing. So it's sort of, you know, it's really important to get the nervous system ready for it, because key pinch is extremely tight. It's extremely difficult, you know. The thumb in key pinch, the thumb's going down in that direction into the knuckle. It's not going sideways. It's like that. It's going down. So, I mean, good example. So that sort of, I don't know if you can see that bump there.
Yes.
So that's the direction the thumb's going in. So it basically it's a very tight position and it's a very dead lift. So to be good at key pinch, you need to be doing very dead lifts, things where nothing's moving very much, you know. So these things where you press your thumb down, it's no use. You need something where you're moving a few millimeters, you know, and that's not something that's easy to train. The easiest thing to do is literally just do it every day, and your body will get used to it. I like key pinch because it doesn't cheat. You can't get around the hours, you know.
Yes.
There's types of grip strength where supportive grip is the most famous one, you know, thick bars, where you can you can just be so strong that you can just lift a lot. But with key
Yes.
pinch, because it's such a tight part of your arm, it's often a little area that you just don't train. So you can't fake time that's needed for it. So if people don't like key pinch, it's because they don't want to put the time in, you know. It's whether you like it or not, you're going to have to spend a long time to get good at it. And people don't like that. So you have to be obsessed, you know. I mean, when I started, I was good, but not very good at key pinch. So when I started competing in 2013, I was a long way off ever beating any world records. In fact, my brother held world records before me. The only reason I'm good at key pinch is because I stayed with it. So, you know, I trained and trained. It took me 5 years before before I broke I think it was 5 or 6 years before I had an impressive world record in key pinch. And then I eventually my personal best becomes everyone's personal best, you know. So sort of, but it's not something you can work around, you know. It can be extremely frustrating. It's the sort of thing that if you growl or scream when you lift, you're not going to lift it. If you grab at it, you're not going to lift it. You have to be patient like a monk, and you have to just be clean and patient, and all the aggression has to go through your thumb. You know, if you're tense in your shoulders, you won't manage it. If you're angry, you won't manage it. You know, it's one of these things. I love the fact that, you know, you have to just be in that place of calm, so that any power goes through your fingertips. You know, so I'll often growl and scream after I've managed the lift.
Yes.
You know, because all that pent up energy. But when I'm lifting, I'm very calm. In fact, if I fail a lift, what I do, I'll try and imagine, I'll picture in my head that there's competitions I've been to hundreds of competitions where I've failed, and then after my 4 lifts, I've gone back and lifted the record, you know, and then it didn't count and it's because I had nothing to lose anymore, you know. So
Yeah.
I pretend I'm convinced myself that I'm in that competition where I've just failed all 4 lifts, and I'm just going to casually go and lift it up. And that's often, you know, most world records I've had, I'm pretending that it's just the extra lift. You know, I'm pretending to myself that I've got no pressure anymore, that I'm just enjoying myself. And
Perfect.
so you fool your body into being so relaxed that all the signal from your brain to your hand is on its own. You know, you're not doing anything else. You're not thinking of anything else. You're just enjoying the lift. You know, and it makes a difference. It really does. It's a very strange. You know, I could be putting all red in my face, putting effort into something and fail every time, and then I'll just find that place in my head where I can lift it. You know, it's a beautiful feeling.
Perfect. There's another huge fan of you from Australia, Glenn Hunter. Maybe you know him. He's a huge fan of you.
He's so amazing.
Yes, and he does
Guys
a
are all
really great
stronger
work
than
with
me.
Gripsport.
Yeah, but his
Yes,
supportive grip is like the best in the world. You know, unbelievable.
Yes, he's really strong, and he wants to know. Well, you have answered his question like with most of the previous answer, but he wants to hear from you. Which are the keys for the key pinch success?
To be really successful with it, other than just time, you should probably prioritize very high percentile lifts. So really lifting to failure. You're not going to injure yourself. The only thing is you'll damage your skin. So, you're going to tear your skin, and then wait a few days and then get back lifting again. The best thing to do, train high weights. You never go loads of lifts of light weights, and timed holds. You can do an awful lot with timed holds. So, when I was training for the world record for the grip tops half penny, so to get 21.8, I had to do timed holds of 20 kilos. And a lot of people will never lift 20 kilos. So you have to get up to a very heavy timed hold, and that will really mean that when you go for that record, you're in a place of familiarity,
Yes.
and you need to always get air under the in training. If you're slipping off of something, then you're never going to get it in a record. You're never gonna manage. If you're getting a small amount of air under something, then this is now a possibility, And if I'm going to a competition to break a record, I want to be able to do multiple lifts of that record in practice. So a lot of people, powerlifting is different. So powerlifting, people tend to break their personal best in the competition, whereas my personal best will have been in the gym. It's never in the competition. My best lifts are always multiple lifts in practice. So the best I've done on a half penny is I've lifted over 22 kilos many times. So the best I've ever done was 22.6 kilos. So it's nearly a kilo over the world record. So you have to, but then when you go into the competition, there's no way I can lift that because the nerves, you've only got 4 attempts. Often you've been lifting other things, so it's maybe the third event. So you need to get to a place where you're that much stronger, and bearing in mind, for any dead weight, you're lifting more than the weight. So for me to lift the current record, 21.8, I had to be lifting 22 kilos of power to make it go up. And key pinch has to be a quick lift. If you lift it slowly, you'll drop it. So you have to time your lift. So probably one of the best bits of advice for Glenn would be time your lifts. If you can be lifting something for 2, 3, 4, 5 seconds, then that's the time that you'll need to get a controlled lift that's good for the referee, good for everything, and you're not going to drop it. There's nothing worse than lifting it off the. I managed to nearly get 22 kilos in a competition once, and I lifted it nearly to the bar and I dropped it.
Oh.
And and I'd lifted it many times in training, many times. So sometimes it's not so much can you lift it; it's can you lift it for long enough to count as a record.
I understand. And there's another question from Harry Tolonen. He asked you on Instagram, what's the level of your finish ball now?
Nothing. It's like 40 kilos. It's rubbish. He knows that I have to train up to the finish ball. It's something that it's affected by my arm wrestling. So this thing in arm wrestling where I'm pushing forwards in the thumb. That's exactly what I use on the finished ball. Funnily enough, Harry Tolonen has a different technique to me. Him and Serko Petterman, they use their cupping power for the finished ball, and their cupping power is better than mine. So this strength here is better than mine, but my thumb strength is better than theirs. So I tend to my thumb overrides the problem. But if my thumb's tired, I'm not going to be getting massive weight. So when I got my best lift, I've had air under 50, by the way.
Wow.
But, but I've never had a full lift. So the biggest full height, that's a 13-inch lift, was officially was 48.3 kilos. And for that, it looks really easy in the video, because I was doing these timed holds. I was doing timed holds of 45 kilos. So it's sort of something I need to work up to. And when I know I'm ready to go for the record, it's when I'm regularly getting good weights. And at the moment, I'm not, because my thumb is always in pain from the arm wrestling. So hopefully I'll have enough rest for Finland that I'll be able to go for something a little bit decent. But I don't know. We'll see. I'm there to have a lot of food and meet friends next month.
Excellent. And I wanted to also ask you, do you have any grip sport goals this year?
Other than gold medals in Bonehill, I did have goals. Yes, I want to get back up to good hub lifting. So hub lifting is something on the shallow hub. It's something I dream of hub lifting. It's I literally when I'm sleeping, I'll dream that I'm lifting hubs. So the weights. That seems to be all I care about when I'm dreaming. I want to be able to. There's a 55 kilo plate, 55 pound plate. Okay. So that's what 25 kilos just over at the Commando Temple in London that I've lifted quite a few times. But the equivalent on a shallow hub is harder to do, and there's a lot of plates out there that are almost unliftable. I've got a 15 kilo plate that's because it's got a slightly sloped hub. I'm rubbish at it, and I know guys who can lift these things, so I do better in a normal hub lift. So I can lift more than them in the Iron Mind hub. There's a guy called Sam Salome.
Actually, Sam is my coach. I know him perfectly.
Well, he's a lovely guy, and he's, I would say, number one at hub lifting in this country, in Britain.
Whoa!
And he can do incredible things, but weirdly, I'm better than him on the Iron Mind hub. It's just that bit different because Sam doesn't rely on his thumb. If you look at his technique for lifting these incredible hub plates, ones that I can't lift, he has this lean. He's got a wonderful technique of doing it, and he's got this incredible middle hand strength. It's really useful for claw grip. But Harry Tolinen, he's slightly different. Harry's got more of a technique like mine. So it's more about what I'd say is for hub lifting, you have a stable thumb. So you're basically saying it's not about thumb strength. It's about thumb not moving anywhere. Does that make sense? Yeah. So
yes.
The fingers can pull away from the thumb. So for me and Harry, it's about this moving away from the thumb. Whereas Sam, he's got a more all-round grip because he's a power lifter. So it's sort of both sides. But if my thumb moves that much, I would not manage it. For me, it has to be still. So for the Iron Mind hub, you see me really screw my thumb into it.
Yes.
It's not because I want to get my thumb sideways. It's because I want to squeeze any air out from that thumb so there's no movement before I pull my fingers. So I'm pulling away. Imagine that thumb's on a cliff top and you're hanging off your thumb and you're pulling away from that. That's how hub lifting works. So it's a beautiful part of our sport, and it's something I want to be number one at. But there's guys out there so much better than me. I mean, my God, there's some good guys. Harry Tolinen now, he's got like 33 kilo lift on the Iron Mind, on the shallow hub. Unbelievable.
On the shallow, wow.
Yeah. I mean, my best is only 27 kilos. So it's like, it's amazing. And you look at what most people can lift is maybe 14, 15 kilos. So I'm having to lift so much more than 10 kilos more than everyone else. And that's nowhere near enough to be, where I want. So that's my dream. I dream of owning some good hubs. I've got some plates that I can't lift at the moment. I want to be able to own some good old-fashioned American tall, deep dish hubs. That's a dream. Yeah. They cost a lot in this country. You have to pay for so much for importing them. It costs hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pounds.
Yeah, I understand. It happens the same. In example, if I want an inch dumbbell from Nathan Holly, it will cost like a lot to ship it to Chile. So it's a dream for me as well to bring the cool equipment up here. But someday,
Yeah,
maybe someday.
yeah. Nathan Hall. I think I pronounce it Hall.
Yeah,
But
okay.
that's fine. I mean, he doesn't mind if people say Holly. I've spoken to him about that. So, but he's incredible. He was one of the first guys I followed, on Gripsport because of the number 4 Captains of Crush. So he was the first guy in Britain to close the number 4, and he's a lovely guy. He's one of the most modest, down-to-earth people. But because he's got a big family and he's down in Wales, he doesn't really go to competitions. He never goes to competitions. So his whole family are amazing. His brothers. He's got like 3 brothers who can all close the number 3, eat like nothing.
Yeah,
It's like
yes, I invited him to the show like previous episodes before you, and he's really nice. I really liked chatting with him. It was really cool.
yeah, he's amazing and he's so cool. He reminds me of in person. He reminds me of Mitch. Mitch Hooper, the Canadian strongman? Just really cool guy, and
I can
like
I can
just
imagine.
really,
He's really tall, right, Nathan?
uh, he's maybe 6'3". I don't know if he's as tall as you think. Although everyone's tall to me. I don't know.
Well, I am not too tall, but when I heard his height, I thought like, wow, he's tall.
Oh,
At least for Chile,
well,
he's tall.
yeah, yeah. Maybe he's taller than I thought, but I always think people are shorter than they are. There's a guy in my apartment block who's 6'8", and I
Really.
didn't know he was that tall because I speak to him. I see him, and you come to mention it, you do have to go under the door, don't you? I just don't notice these things. So it's just sort of really funny. The guy who's 7 foot, he's unavoidably tall, So
Yeah.
it's so funny. He likes to train in my shed. So you imagine he has to crouch down into my shed and lifting these things up. It's so funny. And he prefers it to the arm wrestling. So it's like, well, it'd be all arm wrestling. And where's this big guy gone? He's in the shed, lifting things, and he can hardly fit in there, So yeah, Nathan's I've only met once, and it was like meeting my hero. It's so great. Good. Yeah, we'd actually spoken a bit before over the years, but only on like fans, saying, hey, we like what you're doing and all this sort of thing, and comparing ourselves on other things, and me talking to him about grippers and yeah, because he's an incredible person. He was probably, I believe, Nathan Hall. He unofficially was the first person ever to do a card close of the number 4 Captains of Crush, and he's done it several times over the years. It just hasn't certified. No one has, by the way, certified of a card.
Not yet. Not
But
yet.
again, it's timing, So you imagine he managed it, and then it was maybe 4 years till he did it again, or 5 years. You're not going to be able to just manage that sort of feat is incredible. And so if you were to order the gripper from Iron Mind and certify, get the witnesses in, be able to do that, you'd have to be in practice repeating it, and of course he managed it, but not like multiple times. So unquestionably he's done it. I've seen him do it on video, but to be at that level where you can actually certify, no one, I think I'm right in saying this, no one who has card closed the 3 for certification has has not been able to repeat that many times before actually certifying. I think the only person I've seen maybe was Richard Sorin when he eventually closed the 300 card, but he actually was trying for years and years. And so Richard Sorin, by the way, was he was the second person ever to, the second person to close the number 3 with a 1-inch close. So the old rule. So it's called a parallel close when the handles are basically parallel to each other.
Yep.
And yeah. So he was the first person to do that, or one of the first people, and then it took him another 15 years to do the card close, maybe 20 years almost. It was, really took him a very long time. But most people, it takes them a few years. For me to close the number 3, it took me about 6 years, I think. It took quite a long time because I just couldn't get used to that amount of weight in my hand. Very difficult. And then when I did close it for the first time, it was really easy because I trained so much. So sort of, it's very, very strange. It's the same thing with world records. World records are easy. It's getting to that point that's difficult. So when you go for a world record, at least as a pro, you are in a position where you've done all the good training. There's no question in your mind. The only question is the fact that you're there and you're under pressure. But the difficult thing is not breaking world records. The difficult thing is actually all the training to get yourself into a position where you can say you can really do a proper go at it. Otherwise, most people are never near a record. So sort of, you could get people sending me a video saying, "Oh, I've managed this, I should be going for the record." And I can guarantee they won't manage it competition. Unfortunately, I want people to be able to beat these records. I want people to beat all of my records, because then it gives me a reason to get out there and actually to achieve that. So, yeah.
Perfect. And Jerome, the last words belong to you. Tell us, Jerome, which message would you like to the audience to take away from this lovely interview? Anything for the new people, anything for the Key Pinch fans and for your fans around the world?
The usual ones. The halfpenny is not that little floppy coin that you buy from David Horn. It's a fixed plate.
This is a halfpenny. This is a halfpenny.
No, that is.
The Duke Cube, but this is having a plate is different.
Yes,
having a plate is different.
That's a $quarter Canadian, and I hold the record in that, 24 kilos. Oh no, 19 kilos. 19 kilos. But I would say no. Really, the message is please get out there and lift. There's no point in just showing off on videos. Enjoy lifting, put the hours in, throw away the mirrors, and get those numbers up because we need more people in our sport.
Perfect. I really liked it. Jerome, I want to thank you for your time. It was a really nice interview. And well, sadly, Instagram gave us just 60 minutes of live stream, but I really enjoyed chatting with you, and I hope to visit the UK soon, and we could have a training together. It would be really legendary. I really love it.
I look forward to it. And I love Chile, by the way. I went to Chile in 2001. Loved it. Wonderful country.
I remember when I was in Patagonia, you sent me a comment years ago. Oh, I was in Patagonia when I was in Chile. Yeah, it's a really beautiful country. Yes,
beautiful. Oh, take care.
Well, take care, Jerome.
Happy lifting.
Goodbye.
Bye then.